We've all heard about the concept of compound effect in compound interest, a concept that not only applies to finance and investment, but also significantly influences many aspects of life. In today's episode, I'll share with you some of my perspectives on how the compound effect can yield substantial long-term results in various fields. So, to begin, for those who haven't had the chance to watch the episode on compound interest, let me briefly recap this concept before we delve into the main content of today's episode. Compound interest, essentially, is the process where we invest in something and, over time, our investment earns additional returns. These returns are reinvested into the initial capital, creating a larger cumulative portion. This cumulative portion continues to generate more returns in subsequent periods for us. If we have $450 and we invest it in a bank with an interest rate of 10% per year, that means we will receive $45 in interest each year. Now, if we didn't consider the concept of compound interest, we would just set aside this interest each year. So, after 10 years, we would have $450 in interest accumulated, plus the initial $450 principal, totaling $900. Similarly, after 50 years, we would have a total of $200. But now, instead of setting aside the $45 interest each year, we reinvest it back into the principal amount and then use it to continue earning interest for the next period. That's the power of compound interest, and the results can be significantly different. Specifically, with a 10% interest rate, at the end of the first year, we would have $450 principal, and $45 interest. We then reinvest this $495, and at the end of the second year, we would have $544, $495 principal, and $49.50 interest. This process continues, and after 10 years, we would have a total of around $1,236 instead of $900 if compound interest wasn't applied. This figure may not seem significantly different from the initial approach. However, the special feature of compound effect is that it accelerates gradually over time. Specifically, just adding another 10 years, meaning after 20 years, we would have a total of 2,272 instead of 1,350. Without applying compound effect, by the 30th year, we would have $6,91.74 instead of 2,250. By the 40th year, we would have $50,511 instead of 2,700. And around the 50th year, we would have an astounding 1,038,864.35, 12 times more than the 3.5 if compound effect wasn't applied. This is just an example I've rounded for easier visualization. Now, I'll choose another scenario. For example, let's say we allocate the $45 each month to invest in a savings account, meaning we add an additional $540 each year. With a monthly million, 12 months is 12 million, and so on, applying compound effect again by pooling capital. After 30 years, we would have $52,422. After 50 years, we would have over $208,424. And a slightly better scenario. Instead of saving $1 million each month, let's assume we save $90 each month. This $90 figure is within reach for most people, and if we can achieve that, we won't need 50 years. Just after 30 years, we'd already have $952,276. If we become a bit more savvy and somehow manage to increase the profit margin to 20% per year, meaning less than 2% each month, then after 30 years, we would have over $8,992,191. Some might argue that a 20% annual profit margin is not simple. In my opinion, these figures are entirely within our reach. Saving $90 a month isn't too difficult for most people. And investing with a profit margin of 15 to 20% is entirely feasible. I'll share how to invest to achieve this level of profit margin in future episodes, so stay tuned. In general, it's not too hard. The only thing that makes these figures beyond the reach of most people isn't the figures themselves, but the factor of time. It's the number of years we can persistently and consistently do these things over a long period. That's why, in all my podcast episodes, I always emphasize that the key factor in investing is patience and discipline. We strive. We stay away from gambling-style investment methods with the desire to get rich quickly to get rich overnight. You don't have to take my word for it. With a bit of English knowledge, you can find out. This is also the advice of most successful investors in the world. These people, after many years of seasoned investing, ultimately advise that most people go the slow and steady route. That's the most effective and sustainable way to wealth. Unfortunately, in today's society, many people choose to go in the opposite direction. They focus solely on get-rich-quick schemes, aiming to double, triple, or even multiply their wealth tenfold in a short period. They look at things like cryptocurrency or leverage futures contracts and see their friends and acquaintances doubling or tripling their money. So they follow suit, sometimes even borrowing money or selling their homes. However, as we all know, the results of these short-term, get-rich-quick approaches often end up harming us in the long run, not just in the realm of investment. When we observe our surroundings, we'll notice that this trend isn't specific to the financial sector. It appears in many different aspects of modern life. We live in a fast-paced society where everything operates swiftly. Consequently, we want everything to happen quickly. As I just mentioned, almost anything that comes quickly in life also tends to fade away quickly. This is the main point I want to share with you in today's episode. First, let's talk about careers. For example, we look around and see our friends rapidly advancing in their careers, and we feel the urge to catch up. A few years later, we see them becoming managers or directors, and we also want such prestigious titles for ourselves. Instead of striving to progress gradually, we seek shortcuts to climb the ladder. The shortcut that many people take is starting their own business, founding a company. In cases where entrepreneurship is taken seriously, I won't comment. But there are instances where people start businesses or establish companies just to obtain the title of CEO or managing director for the sake of grandeur and prestige. While they themselves may not be ready and lack the necessary skills to manage an organization. Unintentionally, we put ourselves in positions beyond our capabilities. The essence of any business model is to address a problem more effectively at some point. To do so, we need additional support. Then, when there are too many people to support, we need an organization. Within that organization, tasks are divided among individuals, each responsible for different aspects of the work. To avoid confusion and stepping on each other's toes, we need specific titles for each position. Some are responsible for product development, others for sales, and some hold overall management responsibilities. This is how we come to have the title of a manager. Even up to this point, if we don't need it, we don't need to start a company for anything. A company is merely a legal entity to sell products, services, or collaborate with other partners. It's just a legal tool to help us address certain requirements in our business activities. In essence, establishing a company is just a tool to help us solve a particular problem in the process of operating our organizations, as well as the process I just described. It's a compound effect, little by little, building our organization on a solid foundation, growing a little bigger every day. Eventually, looking back, we might find that we have built a very large and successful organization. And just like that, we ourselves need to develop gradually to correspond with the daily growth of the organization. The compound effect in finance leads me to the second example, which is about our knowledge and capabilities. The most effective way to build knowledge is to take it step by step, every day learning a little. It's no different from saving an extra $45 each month in the initial example. Our knowledge works the same way. Today, we learn a certain amount of knowledge. We store it in our repository, and then that knowledge comes back, sparking more interest, prompting us to delve deeper. The deeper we go, the more we learn, and it enhances our foundation. That foundation, in turn, stimulates our interest even further. After a year, 10 years looking back, we will see that we have accumulated and nurtured a vast amount of knowledge. That's how we nurture and accumulate knowledge. How we grow every day. No knowledge can be learned overnight. And the story of getting rich quickly is similar. All the pictures I've shared with you so far have a common point. The initial long period is often dull. Everything seems repetitive, and the results achieved are very low compared to the efforts we put in. In finance, even in the best-case scenario of a 20% profit per year, in the first 5 years, or even the first 10 years, the accumulated amount is still very small compared to the efforts we've made and the company we've built. We forget to eat, forget to sleep, and even in the early years, it's still a loss. In the later years, if we're lucky, after deducting all the payroll costs, we might have a little money left. The early years are always the toughest. In the compound effect, the story of knowledge is similar. From learning a musical instrument to exploring a new field, take learning a musical instrument, for example. In the initial long period, we only learn music theory and basic skills. We still can't play any songs, and if this knowledge is very dull, but like all other compound effects, it will gradually accelerate, and the further we go, the faster we will be, thanks to the foundation we have built in the early periods. It's like making money. It speeds up later on. Even in a complex field like romantic relationships, people often favor the love-at-first-sight style, meeting and falling in love immediately, always passionate. However, just by looking at the relationships of our grandparents or parents, we can easily see that the most enduring relationships often stem from small daily actions. For example, buying a favorite dish for the other person, or brewing a cup of tea for someone in the evening. All of these, little by little every day, are like accumulating in finance. We add a bit of happiness to the joint account, and over time, it grows and becomes more precious. Many people often think that once they are married and living together, everything will be complete. However, the important thing is to care for and nurture the relationship every day, not just stop there. A formal relationship begins when we start acting together, not when it ends. We overcome challenges, difficulties together, and through that, the relationship is strengthened and developed, rather than naturally stopping or breaking up whenever there is an issue. As we have seen, the compound effect is not just a financial calculation. To me, it is a life philosophy, and exemplified in various aspects of daily life. We can observe that this mindset applies across many different fields, from accumulating knowledge to business management, and even in building relationships, including family life. Embracing the compound effect is about persistently working towards a goal until we see significant results. Looking back, we might be surprised by how far we have come. Similar to finance, the most challenging aspect of the compound effect is often the initial stages. This is when progress seems slow, and it's easy to feel discouraged. Whether it's accumulating knowledge, starting a business, or building relationships, the difficulties arise early on when faced with obstacles. Instead of giving up, it's essential to persevere and overcome these initial challenges. I hope this sharing has shed some light on understanding the compound effect and how to achieve desired outcomes in various areas of life. I wish you all the perseverance to navigate through the initial hurdles of the compound effect. I conclude my sharing here for the second day. If you find this content helpful, please share it with your friends and family. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to help our podcast reach more people. Thank you for your support, and may you all have a peaceful day.